Hey, guess what, everybody? Go listen to the Break It Down show.
And now, the Break It Down show with Jon and Pete.
Joining us today on the Break It Down show. Many people joined us today, man. Thank you for joining us today on this cavalcade of stars, because now we won't have to record a show for about the next month and a half. Anyway, joining us today is Phil Deckard.
Hello.
Hey, Phil.
I'm still trying to figure out why I'm here.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man.
You got stories to tell. Come on.
I have all kinds of stories. Not as interesting as the one we just heard. I have to say, you are a hard act to follow.
Yeah, no kidding. Jessica Cameron is a hard act to follow. First of all, do you know Cori? Phil, Cori.
Hey, Cori, how you doing?
So we've had a ton of musicians who come from Vallejo on our show.
Oh, my.
And you are the latest.
You're a musician?
Are you from Vallejo?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm from Vallejo.
What school
Look
did
at
you go
that.
to?
I'm from Palo Alto.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
What
y'all ain't
school
as
you
cool
go
as me, though. Y'all
Okay.
ain't as cool as me.
Me too.
So
84.
let me tell the story.
87.
Let me tell the story
Yeah.
because this will all come into focus for Cori. Phil Deckard went to Hogan High School, which is where Cori and I met.
Mm-hmm.
And I one day was thoroughly inspired, taken over. My entire imagination and being were taken over by a young man named Alex Van Halen. And I thought, now I have found my calling. I have to seek out how I can fulfill this dream of mine. And so I was sitting in class one day, probably staring out the window in nothingness next to a guy named Richard Harris. And I said, man, I want to play the drums. Fuck all this. And Rich said, who you need to do is you need to go find Cori Jacobs. Do you know Cori Jacobs? And I said, no, I don't know Cori Jacobs. And he goes, the real goofy dude walks down the street with drumsticks in the back. And I said, oh, that's Cori Jacobs. And he goes, yeah, go meet Cori. Cori's the baddest dude I know. And I said, okay. You must not know many people. But so I did exactly that. I stopped everything that I was doing and I introduced myself to Cori and I started playing the drums. Also, concurrent to introducing myself to Cori, I knew there was another thing I had to do because I lived around the corner from Michael Cologne. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I had to introduce myself to Michael Cologne as well. And one of the things that Mike Cologne did for me was he said, hey, have you ever heard of Truant? And I said, no, I never heard of Truant. And he said, no, come on. Did you see the TV20 dance party? And I said, of course I did. And he said, that was Truant. So the thing is, you left Hogan just before Cori and I showed up.
Right.
But what you left in your wake was a whole bunch of musicians who were able to see this TV show that you guys had been on. Phil was in a band in high school called Truant. And you guys were already rock stars. As far as everybody was concerned, you guys cut a 45. You guys cut a 45, and you had the principal of our high school on the 45.
Yeah, that's right, Norm Schneider.
Yeah.
The thing with us, we were the only band, and just to pat my own back, at 15 years old, that we were going and playing in clubs in Berkeley and in San Francisco that you couldn't get into until you were 16. Like Keystone Berkeley. First time we played Keystone Berkeley, opening for a band called the Payolas. And Payolas had a guitar player named Bob Rock, who went on to become like a huge producer.
Who went on to become Bob Rock.
Yeah. Went on to become Bob Rock. I don't think he was Bob Rock at the time. Maybe he was like Bob Yanovitz or something. I have no idea. But so we were going out and playing clubs and then coming back to science class.
Right.
And so I think that was kind of...
So you're actually playing a club in Berkeley
that you're not allowed to go to
on a Wednesday night or something, and you're coming back on Thursday morning and you're showing up for class and you're like, look at all these schmucks.
Oh yeah,
I'm a fucking rock star.
What am
I doing in here? No, go ahead. Please.
They were just getting back then.
Yeah. Well, I never, it's funny. I never felt that I was. I certainly personally never felt that I was a rock star. I felt like I was playing in a band with a bunch of rock stars. I mean, Adam Molinar.
Yeah.
I've always looked up to Adam. I wouldn't say so much Eric Eppel. I don't know if you know the same people. Adam Molinar.
Molinar's Mexican Lindo.
Yeah. Oh my God. We used to rehearse.
I used to play in the baseball.
We used to rehearse in the basement of this restaurant. We took the entire thing and made it blue. We had somehow got a bunch of free light blue carpet. We put on the ceiling, on the walls, and everything. It looked like we were playing in a soundproof fishbowl. And I still hear from people that I haven't talked to in more years than I would care to admit. Like, I saw you guys in the basement of Molinar's Mexico Lindo.
Wow.
People that I never even knew that I.
Yeah.
But Molinar's Mexico Lindo. And you know Mike Colon as well.
Yeah.
What kind of music were you guys playing? Was it rock and roll? Was it heavy metal?
It was at that time was rock and roll. I mean, I think we had a female singer, and I think we were trying to be some kind of a Pat Benatar Van Halen
who was a
hybrid.
rock star.
Yeah.
Terry's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Terry lately?
No,
She looks amazing.
I bet.
Better than she's ever looked.
Oh my goodness.
We were actually going to do a truant reunion show that Tommy Moffat was trying to put together.
Wow.
A couple of years ago. And so I was into it. Tommy and Adam and Eric Eppel and I all got together. You know Eric Eppel.
Uh-huh. I barely know Eric Eppel, but I do know Adam.
People that know Eric barely know Eric.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great guy. He's really funny.
Okay.
So we got together at Tommy's house, and Eric's like, I'm going to be a little late. I have to stop off and buy a car. I mean, just because he was walking. It was really weird, but that was Eric. But he's a great guy. We actually got together and started working on stuff, and Terry lives in Texas. She's a teacher. She's married to a principal.
Wow.
And so at the last minute, she called and said, I haven't sung in 25 years. I can't do it.
Oh,
So,
Terry.
we're still trying to talk her into it.
Yeah.
But,
Please do it, Terry. Please do it.
But, yeah,
Well-
so that's truant.
Yeah. You guys did, there was a show that we were telling Brenna about earlier today. There was a show called TV20 Dance Party. TV20 was led by a guy named Jim Gabber, and he's like a Bay Area media legend.
I
Right.
remember that.
Bought this TV station, and he did all these revolutionary things on the TV station. One of them was he did like a Soul Train American Bandstand type show that went from high school to high school to high school, and everywhere they went, if there was a band in that high school that could play a song, they'd bring them up on stage and have them play a song. And there were some, there were some okay bands that were around, and there were some bands that were not that great that would show up, but Truant went on there and kicked ass. So you guys left in your wake at Hogan a bunch of fans
Wow.
who were, you couldn't play music at Hogan and not still hear about Truant
Wow.
for years afterwards. Then you were in Cry Wolf.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's what happened basically was after I left Truant, I joined another band in town called Audio. If you
Oh,
remember
that's
that.
right, Audio.
And with Jeff Berger and Paul
Uh-huh.
Friend and all those guys, Dave Saker.
Dave
And
Saker,
I mean, you just say Saker and you just start laughing.
Yeah.
Saker. And so
Still around, still at it.
You know what? And he hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's like Slash. He's still wearing that top hat.
Yeah.
Dave is like still
Still at it.
He's still doing the thing that he was doing back in 1983.
Uh-huh.
I love the guy. But
I do too. Hair
and-
same length.
Not afraid of Lycra.
No. And it's spandex is hard to pull off once you hit
It
a certain
is.
age.
Yeah,
But he's tagging at
Yeah.
it. He's not going to give up.
Dave hit that certain age, like he's always 15 years older than us.
Yeah.
He's like Mick Mars then.
He is. He really
I'm
is. Like,
old, but I'm playing the guitar.
I'm going to show up and whoop everybody's ass, and we're like, Jesus, look at this guy,
Yeah.
and still at it,
Wow.
still
Yeah.
after it. So anyway,
I'm waiting just for Dave to get up on stage and start yelling at all the audience to get off of his lawn.
Hey kids, hold this guitar by the neck
Yeah.
and shake it.
And you never throw the paper all the way to the door. I'm going to kick your ass, you little. So
Do you guys have an AARP discount here?
I know. I shouldn't be laughing, because I'm undoubtedly older than everybody.
Old
in
as
this
fuck.
room.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, right. We're talking about the legacy you left behind
Yeah.
at
I
a
know.
high school that we graduated from 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, please.
Well, the
Where
funny
were we?
thing, I'll tell you, not that this is directly can be relatable to us, but Truant, is Tommy Moffat actually sent me an article from a book about Eddie Van Halen that all these different quotes from different rock stars, and one of which was Billy Joe Armstrong. And Billy Joe Armstrong, in the book, he talked about how his first band was called Truant, and they used to play Van Halen covers and Ozzy covers and that kind of thing. And I thought, and I was reading this, going, "Wait, this is our life. It's not his. I mean, but this is strange." Well, Tommy Moffat, for those that don't know, Tommy was one of the guitar players in Truant. And he was a couple of years older than us, too. But his mom worked at a restaurant called Terry's in Vallejo with Billy Joe Armstrong's mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Billy Joe Armstrong his mom used to take him to all of our Truant shows when he was like 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
And
Oh, boy.
when Truant broke up, he asked his mom if he could ask Tommy's mom if they could change their name or if they could call their
name
band
of their
Truant.
band Truant. Wow.
Yeah, and now he's in Green Day, and
Uh-huh.
I'm working for him.
He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
Crazy.
I'm in the Delwood Street and Vallejo Hall of Fame, I think, but that's the closest.
Well, that's a really good thing to be.
So, what happened in audio in the years between Truant and Cry Wolf?
We were playing clubs and doing the thing in San Francisco and Oakland and playing the Omni and that kind of thing. And so Dave Saker went off to join another band called Flame, and our singer left the band. He was in 2 bands at once, which is unheard of at the time. Now, if you're not in like 7 bands, then you're a slacker.
Yeah.
And so Derek Davis is his name, and he's in a band now called Babylon AD, which is the band that he was, if you've ever heard him, so he was the band that he was in at the time.
Yeah.
And
They've been together all that whole time.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they were called the Persuaders at the time, and then they changed their name to Babylon AD when at some point, I guess they just did the Persuaders.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, cool. I know. So audio was kind of falling apart. The last show that we played was opening for a band called Heroes. Or actually, Heroes opened for us, which became Cry Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as luck would have it, after that show, their bass player quit. They remembered me from the show, from being on audio, and just randomly called me up. And this is at a time when I had an offer to get a job at Radio Shack if I cut my hair. You know, I'm like 17 years old. I'm sitting there going,
No money.
I'm having no money. I'm having a midlife crisis at 17, right? I'm like, am I going to pursue this dream of mine and continue to play music with my shoulder length, floppy, weird hair, probably not unlike it is now? Or am I going to grow up and get a job at Radio Shack? Well, as fate would have it, I got a call from Tim, the singer in Heroes, which became Cry Wolf, joined that band, and moved to LA about 6 months later.
What year is this?
Thank God.
This was in 86.
So this is just before the peak of that whole
Oh, yeah.
LA hair metal band scene. I mean, like, that's when it was happening, right?
Well, you
there.
know, it's funny because, I mean, we were, you know, as a Bay Area band, the Bay Area scene wasn't really that great. And so, but we had this woman that we were working with that wanted to manage the band. So she invited us down on a weekend to come to LA. And I've never been there. I've never seen, I mean, I've been to LA, but I've never seen like the rock
The scene, yeah.
We've never been to Sunset, right?
I had not been to Sunset. Not been
Went
to
to Disneyland.
Strip. So I come down. So we come down. We drive. We get here about 11:30. She's like, "Well, let's go down to Hollywood." I'm like,
It's 11:30.
"It's 11:30. Are
Let's
you
go down
kidding? Like,
tomorrow
everyone's
at 1 in
asleep
the
by
afternoon.
now." So we go down to what was then Gazzari's, and you know, as the strip was, there were so many people out on the street, so many bands handing out flyers that. There were people having to walk around the traffic, around the cars parked on Sunset, and a police helicopter was shining the searchlight down, telling everybody to get back and
Break it up.
And I was like, "This is where we got to be.
Yeah.
This is where
awesome.
it is."
The
Yeah.
scene, yeah.
And so we did. I mean, we moved down soon after that.
So
And-
you looked up at a police helicopter light and thought, fuck Radio Shack.
exactly. And look at him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Radio Shack.
You got survived.
That's right.
Yes, that's foresight if I ever saw it.
That's right.
30 years later, this company's going bankrupt. And so, so we moved to LA, and then, you know, just the same thing. We were playing the clubs, and we had an opportunity actually to go to Japan. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. The funny thing was, playing in LA at that time, some of the bands that we saw, I remember seeing Guns N' Roses at the Whiskey
Sure.
in front of like 60,
that time, yeah.
60 people. And they were great, but if somebody would have said they're going to be the biggest band in the world in 2 years, I would have
Right.
believed
If
it.
even that, right? Like 87 is when they got on that tour with the Cult.
Yeah,
And it was like, oh, we're opening for the Cult. Yeah, not anymore.
right.
We're now the headline act now,
Well,
you know?
it's funny because we had a band that I partially wrote called Heart of the Jungle, and I remember seeing them. I was like, oh, they have a jungle song too, but ours is going to be way bigger than theirs. Like, yeah, maybe not so much, but
You
no,
didn't
they,
add a welcome to yours, and that was
Yeah.
the problem.
yeah, exactly.
The song
So-
wasn't welcome.
Exactly. And so, I mean, Guns N' Roses was great, you know, but they, so I mean, the scene was just massive and it was huge, and we had an opportunity to go to Japan as an unsigned band. We actually made a demo tape that we turned into a bunch of cassette tapes that we would hand out to anybody that signed our mailing list. And one of those cassette tapes is a 4-song demo. You can still find on eBay. That 4-song demo made its way to a promoter, or made its way to a reviewer for a magazine in England. A guy named Kelv Hellraiser wrote this incredible review about this demo tape. And from that led to the tape being picked up by a promoter in Japan that brought us over for a couple of weeks and to play in Japan as an unsigned band. So, I didn't actually believe we were going to. We were sitting in the plane. I thought there's had to be something wrong with it.
Yeah, there's a catch.
There's a catch. What is a catch?
Yeah.
And so
Guns N' Roses is staying behind.
I know.
We're getting on
I
a
know.
plane. We're going to Japan.
I know. And so we went to Japan, and we ended up getting a record deal with Epic Sony after our first show.
Wow.
And so we came back, recorded our album, and then we went back and did a tour of Japan for a month in September of '89.
Mm-hmm.
And we were over there. We were touring the same like circuit as Black Sabbath, and so we're playing the same places as Black Sabbath. It was crazy. The audience there was just amazing.
Wow.
But we would do that, and then come back home, and then hand out flyers on this trip.
Right.
So it was very humbling. It really kept us grounded.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't really have the opportunity to really think a whole lot of ourselves if we still had to come back and try to
hand out
flyers.
Were you guys treated like kind of rock stars in Japan?
Oh yeah,
because I know because they're not used to seeing so many white faces over there. All of a sudden they're like, oh my god.
Oh yeah. The second time we went there, somebody called the hotel that we were staying in to find out if we'd arrived yet. Apparently. And by the time we got there was about 1,500 people outside the hotel.
Wow.
And
after Extreme, Nuno Bettencourt moved over to Japan, and he was like, I'm staying here.
Yeah. Well, there was a band in the Bay Area called Cacophony. Marty Friedman's a guitar player. He was actually the guitar player in Megadeth for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that band. They had a drummer named Kenny Stavropoulos. Man,
Kenny was great. Kenny was a great drummer. He was really from the Terry Bozzio kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
even
really
looked like Terry Bozzio a little bit.
He's still. Who's he playing with lately? I saw some. He played with Y&T maybe for a little while or something. Or anyway, and so we met Marty Friedman over there in '89, and he had just moved there.
That's a big fucking deal. You met Marty Friedman over there.
Yeah,
he had just moved there.
Yeah, and so it was. This is before he was in Megadeth, actually, because he's lived there, and his wife is Japanese, and he's like fully immersed in the Japanese culture, and it was unbelievable. It was just a great experience.
Wow.
They're very, very different than the culture in the United States. They have vending machines on the street that sell beer.
Yeah, that's great. Germany has that too.
Do they really?
Oh yeah.
I've been to Germany. I didn't notice
it's
that.
Not everywhere. It's not as common as it used to be.
So all the Access Powers sell beer on the street. What's going on there? Yeah. No, anyway.
Well, our manager asked this kid that was there. It's like because they still have a drinking age.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you just go up and buy beer out of a vending machine? Why don't you do it?
Yeah.
And their response was, "Well, we're not supposed to."
Yeah.
I'm like, that would never fly back home.
My buddy left his iPhone out just recently, a couple months ago. Left his iPhone out, and they're like, "Oh, this must belong to somebody," and he got it back. Like it got back to him. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll find this guy, no problem."
Well, it's really funny because, and you probably know this from being there, spending some time there. The new movie that I'm writing right now takes place in Tokyo.
Oh,
and one of the reasons why they wanted to it's a big zombie movie. And they wanted to be in a place where there wasn't a lot of weapons, so they had to use their hands or knives or blades or whatever to fight back.
Yeah,
because everybody just
got gun control.
You know what I mean? So like, where would be the perfect place? And I was like, well, Tokyo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Now the cops do have guns.
Place to shoot.
People don't know the cops actually do have guns because they never have to use them.
Right.
So anyway, I mean,
well, if any of those Japanese like kung fu movies are made in the United States, it'd be like Pistols of Fury, and the fight would be like 5 seconds long. So when you were over there, you guys made videos because I remember we saw videos over here. Oh yeah, we were on. We ended up coming back. We had the #1 video on Japanese MTV for a while, and so when we came back here, we ended up getting a record deal with a smaller label. And this is, granted, this is in like late '89, and the whole hair metal thing that we were part of. That's when things really started kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
Because you could look at like you open up a magazine we were in at the time, like Hit Parade or Metal Edge or something like that, and you could pluck me out of a Cry Wolf picture, stick me in Firehouse, and take some guy from Firehouse and put him in.
Everybody had a similar look.
And it's like, and we were all looking at this going, it's not gonna.
There's a
bubble.
Not gonna last. There's a bubble.
There's a bubble. Yeah. And so we ended up putting our album out in the United States in '90, and we toured the States 3 times, and we were on MTV here for a while. It was great. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. But at the same time, it's like, I remember because our singer Tim was like, we should just cut our hair and like make a video with cheerleaders that are wearing black. And I was like, that's never going to work. And then it Smells Like Teen Spirit came out. We're all like, miss it again.
Like Metallica, just cut their hair off.
I know, right?
Exactly.
A good friend of mine is a guy named Mike Inez, who's a bass player in Alice in Chains. And he was in Aussie for a while and everything. Alice in Chains did an unplugged show right when Metallica cut their hair. And so on his bass, he wrote, "Friends don't let friends get friends haircuts."
Yeah. Wow. That's true. Yeah.
So when you were in the midst of this thing and you were at its peak, could you really look over the edge and foresee because I was still busy I'm going to get my hair even longer. And, I didn't see the bubble.
Well, the bubble to me really came with Pearl Jam and Nirvana, especially Nirvana. Like when Nirvana came out, everybody felt it.
Yeah.
It was like, we're no longer cool.
Right.
And so.
It's like disco, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the light switch went on and everything changed. Yeah.
Somebody, I liken it to a story that I read. They were talking about, I think it was like Bobby Darin or somebody like that. There was a star in the early 1960s. And then the Beatles came out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he was like,
music.
Yeah.
Same
Yes.
thing.
It was
They got
like,
rid of it all.
All of a sudden it was like, this is no longer cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what happened to rock at that time. And I think what the problem was that a lot of bands didn't really know how to evolve. When you look at bands like Warrant, for example, Warrant was they sold millions of records. And a band like Pearl Jam, and I still to this day absolutely love that first Pearl Jam album. And there was a noticeable difference, I think, in the emotional quality of the Pearl Jam record to the Warrant record. And those guys were friends of mine.
Yeah.
But it just like Cherry Pie and then Jeremy.
Right.
There was like people they got tired of everything being so like, rock and roll was really based around guys that your parents would be afraid if you brought them home.
Yes.
Right.
And then it reached a point where bands like, I don't want to say yes, because that just make me sad. But bands like Firehouse or whatever, and they were taking pictures in these magazines of for the Christmas issue, of wearing like Christmas pajamas.
Right.
And stuff. It's like, this is no longer rebellious.
Yeah.
This is no longer. It became like, we're the guys that you want to bring home to mom. And it's like, that's not rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's not.
We agree with you.
That's
our show's definition of rock and roll right
there. That's it. Here's this guy, and it's like, I'm not afraid of this dude anymore. Yeah, his hair's long. There's a million of those.
David Lee Roth did that.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
He softened them up, and popping them up, and would do all silly stuff in glasses, just
and wear the glasses. And by the way, I'm going to cover some Louis Prima tunes, and everything's okay, Mom.
Yeah.
And made it. So let's blame David Lee Roth.
If you like the show,
and you know you do,
send us some pictures of your movies.
Don't do that. Support the show.
There are 3 ways you can support us.
Number 1, go to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And leave a 5-star rating and review.
It helps with the show metrics and helps us get better placement. Number 2,
visit our website,
www.breakitdownshow.com.
We've got an Amazon and an eBay link.
Same Amazon, same eBay, you know and love, but they give us a little kickback when you get to their site from ours. And number 3, leave comments about the shows that you like. We want to know what you think, how you feel.
Tell us how to make the show better. We greatly appreciate it.
Now back to the show.
We like boobies.
Well, I'll tell you, you know how many David Lee Roths there were in L.A. at that time?
Oh, my God. There got to be a million of them.
Oh, there was just every single band up and down the strip was just, they were all all the singers are trying to be David Lee Roth.
Right. Yeah, just like nowadays how every company wants to be the Uber of, croissant sandwiches or whatever.
Yeah.
Every band right there. Well, we've got our David Lee Roth, and then we have these 4 other guys. But what makes our band different, but everybody had the David
We
Lee
really,
Roth.
really rock.
Yeah.
No, it's like, no matter what you've heard, we rock.
And then came Jeremy.
Yeah.
And now it's like, holy shit, that's an actual subject matter.
Yeah.
Now I have to be afraid of this.
Yeah.
And it was real and it was substantial. So you're right. That is what happened.
So bands, all of a sudden, this change happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there were so many bands, that were just cursing the day that Nirvana came out. It's like, they changed everything. We can't wait for everything to go back the way it was. And it's like,
No, they're not going back.
Right.
But you reach a point where, all right, we've heard that. That's like when Adam Sandler's trying to redefine himself and he's still trying to figure it out. Yeah. And the bands that survive through that time aren't the band they were then. Whatever they do, they've U2's changed several times, and Metallica has changed.
Paramore.
Yeah. Sure, over and over again. Any act that's lasted that long. So now that rock and roll now today, at least from my point of view, because I have a daughter, if Chris Brown shows up at my house, door gets slammed right in his face. And I grab Brandon, we go upstairs because that guy's rock and roll as fuck. You know,
he's biting bitches.
He's got tattoos.
Yeah. Now he's a full-on blood too. So it's like,
Well, I mean, all of that stuff plays into it. That's what rock and roll is now. And look how different that is through a scope of 30 years. You know, where it was lycra and makeup on dudes to where Chris Brown is now. You have no idea, other than you know about Radio Shack, you have no idea where the music industry is going next, because something will come up and it'll change and it'll pivot.
Well, you know, it's funny. You guys were just talking, you were just mentioning about things that are progressing, like things aren't moving forward or whatever, like it just stopped, and then you started realizing, oh my God, we're all similar. Right? The music is similar. You can just take a chord from that person or whatever, you can kind of hear the same thing. It seems like hip-hop is one of the only forms that's lasted as long as it's lasted, except for they've escalated, they've changed, they've kept moving forward with new. You know what I mean? It's
right. You can be a guy with a first and last name and be a hip-hop artist now. Yeah. And back then, it was like, no, I have to be Icy Fresh Freeze. I can't be come on.
Fresh Freeze!
Larry. We know you're Larry. No, not in here. Not in here. I'm Icy Fresh Freeze.
I'm MCI and Fresh Produce. That can work. Yeah.
But you're right. It continues.
It's Larry with 3 R's, though.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Well, see, I mean, you know, growing up in Vallejo, that if I was in a rock band in high school, but I still grew up on the Gap Band.
Right.
You know, on
you couldn't
Sugar Hill Gang.
growing up in
No,
Vallejo.
that was it.
And you were trying to get laid. You would go to a party and the Gap Band would be on in the garage.
Oh, yeah. And I listened to Parliament and Funkadelic as much as I listened to Van Halen back then. You know? And so we were well versed in a lot of different kinds of music and had appreciation for it.
Right. And you guys practiced at Molinar's Mexico Lindo, which is in the ghetto. So, it was any generation of musician in any genre from Vallejo still had to be influenced by Sly Stone. Still had to be influenced by Confunction. Right. Still had, the influence of everything that was around. So, absolutely. I mean, that was what allowed everybody. As far as you guys had gotten, as you describe it, I remember, and my hesitation in telling this story is I don't remember this guy's name, but there was a guy named James who lived in Beverly Hills, and he was a black guy, but he always wore an AC/DC hat, and he was a rocker. And he had a VHS tape that had a bunch of Cry Wolf on it. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, the Barney Miller bass solo.
The live stuff.
Yeah, wow. I don't know where he got it, but that's where I saw that. So,
what if he still has it? I get a copy of that.
No kidding.
You weren't there that day.
I hope I got his name right, because I don't even remember that's. I want to say his name was James, but
James Early?
No, it wasn't James Early, but there was this guy who lived in Beverly Hills, and our listeners who lived in Beverly Hills will remember. He was a rocker, and he wore like a corduroy hat, and it was an AC/DC hat. So anybody who grew up in the hillside, tell us who that dude is, because somebody knows.
Yeah. Wow.
He was the one metalhead who had a Cry Wolf tape.
Wow.
And he played it, and we saw it, and we were like, man, check this out. So that's how I even knew about that.
Wow, the Barney Miller thing.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed.
His bass solo used to incorporate the theme from Barney Miller. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, exactly.
I can see you playing.
What we used to do,
and it rocked hard.
We did this whole breakdown thing in the middle, like all the solos. Our singer would kind of take a break or whatever, and I'd start off and I'd do a bass solo, and I would end it with that. And then our drummer would kick into it, and he'd do something. He'd come in with, and then our guitar player would start with a whole horn part, and he'd play the guitar on it. And then the drums would stop, and then he'd go off and do his guitar solo. And so, actually, he started with a drum solo and then bass solo, and then we'd have a little solo section. So that was like always a big thing. And I remember some people going, like when we played in Japan, they're like, "I love that. What is that? Did you guys write that?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't have Barney Miller here."
They thought they was giving it to him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Bob James, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Wrote the Barney Miller thing?
Yeah, I think so.
That's deep knowledge there.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yo, I was jazz head growing up.
He wrote a lot of stuff. I think he wrote the theme from Taxi too.
No, yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah.
the Barney Miller thing. Maybe
Maybe it was Tom Scott or somebody.
It might be Bob James.
Okay.
Might be.
I think it was
We'll look
because
it
there's a Rhodes. Isn't there a Rhodes that kicks in?
Google
Yeah,
break.
You have to Google it, yeah.
Yeah.
But he did write the thing from Taxi.
Well, speaking of bass players, I'm going to throw this in real quick. I saw this thing lately or recently from the NAMM show. It was Steve Bailey and Victor Wooten playing with Carol Kay.
Wow.
Wow.
Carol Kay's a badass.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, she's a badass bass player.
Yeah.
And they were standing around watching her, and she was like, I mean, she's not as dexterous as
Sure.
She once was.
as she once was.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the stuff she was coming up with, it's just like the choice of notes
Yes.
and melody that she
Placement.
play. I just be going, I was watching him going, she's just, she's like, you got to be in her 80s.
She's
now.
from another place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's always been the thing about her.
Yes.
Not just her dexterity, but her ability to make a choice that was just so like what in the
Just
hell?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you bring, she's like, that's good, but it ought to be
Is
here.
that
Yeah.
the lady from Wrecking Crew?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's gone?
No, she's still around.
She's-
The
movie,
NAMM
the
show.
movie, the Wrecking Crew.
Oh, okay.
But she, just the good vibrations.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
crying out loud.
Got that
What
right.
the hell was that?
Yeah. Yeah, she played on a lot of the Beach Boys stuff.
All of
and
it. She's,
Yeah.
yeah. She's
she's absolutely
Brazilian
amazing.
songs.
So, I might cut this out, but I heard she was crazy.
Yeah.
She's crazy?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I,
She's crazy badass on the bass. That's all I know.
She is crazy badass on the bass. Yeah. She's
That would
bad.
happen to bass players.
Yeah. Speaking of bass players, let's see. I gave you the list of bass players who have been on our show.
Yeah,
One of
Derek
them was
was-
Derek Jones.
Derek Jones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been on our show. I think he's been on our show twice.
We did 2 shows with me. We only put 1 show up though.
Oh, okay.
You know you got to get on the show if you're doing bass players from Vallejo. Was Charles Quinn.
I absolutely do have to get Charles Quinn because he was like a bass legend walking around the
You know
land.
Charles Quinn? He graduated in my class from Hogan High, and he was
I think he joined the army.
joined the army. He's living in L.A.
Yeah. Oh, is he living in L.A.?
Yeah,
Nice.
I think.
Wow.
He's living down here somewhere. I see him. We're on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy was just in high school. I mean, just slapped.
Bad.
Just
Could play Louis Johnson.
Absolutely badass.
In high school.
So I want to get back to your story.
How bad
Yeah.
Earl Brown was. Earl Brown was like, oh, yeah, I'm okay with Charles Quinn. Anyway.
So you're in LA, and really, that's the AAA of that era's rock bands, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that's where the best ones are going to come from. Maybe it's Def Leppard coming from somewhere else, but you still had to.
yeah,
come here.
most of the proving
Yeah.
ground was
Yeah.
here. You had to come here and cut your teeth.
Right.
It'd be bad here.
Well, the thing about being here too is because you're moving to an area. If you're a band and you're in Boise and you're like,
Right.
we're going to move to LA and we're going to make it big, and you're coming here with 3,000 other bands. There was
Right.
saying Music Connection magazine said that like rock bands at one period of time there were 3,000 bands in LA, and for you to get
And Kinko's was like, we're making tons of money. That's the Gold Rush guys. I got shovels.
And that started pay to play. They were like, shoot, let's make money off of these people.
Let me ask you a quick question. You were about keep the question,
No.
the answer that you were about to answer him. But I was just thinking about that as soon as you said that. Can you imagine how much more popular you would have been had there been Facebook and all that stuff today, Twitter and etc.?
it's just a very different world now.
Or
You know?
how
Or-
much more there would have been to cut through. Because one of the
that's right.
things about Cry Wolf was that you guys did sort of surge ahead. And I don't know what it was like down here. I wasn't down here. But if you were from Vallejo during the Cry Wolf surge, you heard about it. And it was like, dude, they're doing it. They're down there doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas another band who was sitting down here was like, yeah, I saw those motherfuckers yesterday. They were handing out flyers just like us.
Yeah.
So,
So there was a certain, I remember we played up in the Bay Area, like before we went to Japan I think it was the second time. And BAM Magazine was huge at the time. And so all the bands, advertising BAM Magazine, and they take a quarter-page ad out or whatever. We took a 6-page ad out.
Wow.
And for these 2 shows that we were playing at the Stone.
not a
and,
sixth of a page.
Yes.
A 6-page.
Yeah, it was like a
ad.
That's smart.
classified
They
ad.
invested in their careers. That's
Yeah.
smart. I
Yeah.
like
And
that.
so we took a 6-page full.
Even when fucking Eli Manning retires, he only takes a 1-page ad out.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
took
we got
out
like
6
six
pages.
pages.
Yeah, but
This
what
was-
magazine was he in, though?
Never mind
not
the
kidding.
details.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, he'll always worries about the details.
But so what we did, because we had this, I don't know if you remember this, but Cry Wolf, we had these T-shirts made, and we used to have these things on stage were silhouettes of our faces that were like 6 foot or 8 foot high and 4 foot wide, basically a sheet of plywood.
Uh-huh.
And so then we'd have up on stage of just our face. It was all black and just a white face, almost like a Beatles-esque kind of thing. And I came up with that because I took our demo tape and I put it on a copy machine and I shrunk it down like really as small as I can get it, the images. And then I enlarged it as long as I can get it, as large as I can get it, and they were all really
And you just distorted the
pixelated.
hell out of it.
Yeah, and so I took some white out and I went around like where our faces were and a Sharpie, and I went around and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Make this into a T-shirt.
This is an old school graphic.
This is the
artist.
way to go. Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. I used to make stencil or make flyers with a stencil because that's what you had to do, or letraset letters. Copy machine. And so anyway, so this ad that we'd have these big silhouettes on stage. The ad was each one of our faces was an entire page with nothing else on it, just our faces.
Wow.
And in the center of it was the ad for the show, and it had our logo and the 2 shows that we were playing.
Yeah.
And I remember we were playing a Friday night at the Stone and a Saturday night at the Omni in Oakland.
Mhm.
And Mr. Big was playing on Saturday night at the Stone, and they canceled their show and came to ours.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, the first time I was like, we're
Holy
doing
shit,
something different now.
Yeah.
Because this is when they were.
And Mr. Big was already...
Mr. Big was huge at this time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so they canceled their show and came to ours. And so that's when I was like, all right, so we're doing something. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something. But, yeah, that was fun.
Billy Sheehan took the night off to come and watch you.
Yes,
That
he did.
happened.
Yes, he did.
That
And the
happened.
matter of fact, there's pictures on Facebook of us standing backstage with Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert and Pat Chopay, and that's from that show.
Yeah.
That's backstage
Yeah.
at the Omni when they came to see us play. And so they didn't sell any tickets.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the only time that ever happened. It's kind of like when Guns N' Roses opened for Great White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses open for Great White.
Yeah, they did it. They opened for Great White.
Wasn't the other way around?
In a terrible travesty,
No,
Guns
no,
N'
well,
Roses opened for...
early
Early
on,
on, yeah.
early on they did.
Okay.
And Jack Russell
Russell, yeah.
from Great White was asking, how's music changed? He's like, well, I don't think Guns N' Roses is going to be opening for us anymore. But yeah,
Well,
so
that goes to what we were talking about. You guys just interviewed Angelo from Fishbone.
Yeah.
And I was telling you guys that when I used to go see Fishbone back in the early 80s, that the Chili Peppers used to open up for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's
Fishbone's legendary.
Oh, that's my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the shit.
Yeah, I mean, but at the time, Chili Peppers needed to open up for Fishbone.
Yeah.
You know, right then.
But
that
they
needed
actually
to
had a
happen.
bunch of ska songs people don't know about.
But, yeah.
You know?
But, when it comes to... it's not just a matter of this band opening for that band, but the timing. I mean, that was Guns N' Roses in their emergence.
Well, yeah.
They were coming out swinging, and poor Great White. It just happened to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we played a show a couple of years ago when Cry was still together. We played a show with Great White. And, Jack Russell, he's great. He's still tagging at it. He's had some health issues, but he hasn't given up. But the thing about Guns N' Roses specifically, in my opinion, was you had Metallica, which was a metal band, and this is back in the earlier days of Metallica, like pre-1987, and then you had Poison, and so Poison was a glammy, poppy kind of band, a lot of makeup, a lot of hairspray. Then you had Metallica with a lot of
Anger.
We're not wearing makeup.
a lot of
Fuck you
acne,
guys.
Yeah.
and so
A lot of
then
acne.
you had Guns N' Roses came in, and this was a band that bridged that gap.
Yeah.
So you had Metallica
Yes.
fans looked at Guns N' Roses as just a kick-ass rock
And
band.
went,
They said,
yeah,
that's a
we
band
could
I
do
like.
that.
Poison fans looked at Guns N' Roses and they went, they're glammy enough for us and
Right.
they're melodic enough. And so Guns N' Roses came in and they bridged that gap between they took both fans from both bands. And so, and then they sold 14 million records, whatever they did.
Axl had a style, though, I think. He had an interesting... He was different.
Yeah.
He wasn't quite as flamboyant and
I don't think it's
dressed.
going to work in AC/DC now, though.
Yeah.
You know about that.
Yeah.
He's in ACDC?
Yeah.
He's
filling
Brian-
in.
Yeah.
Or whatever's going to
Filling
happen.
in for the Brian Johnson, the singer from AC/DC, has problems with his ears, and I've heard it's because they play so loud that it's an air pressure thing. And his doctor basically told him, said, if you continue this tour, you're gonna completely lose your hearing. And so he had to they were going to cancel the tour that they're doing, but everybody's got to make money, so they were going to have a fill-in singer, and that's apparently Axl Rose.
And he actually
Makes
has that
no
falsetto.
sense to me at all.
He actually has that. That's high.
So it doesn't. I know.
Wasn't
Yeah,
Brian
it
just
Johnson the
doesn't-
fill-in to begin with? I mean, when he drove the bus
It was something
and was like,
that.
"No, I know
Yeah.
all the tunes. It's cool.
Yeah.
Keep going."
Let me ask you this. So, Axl Rose is not the guy to do that job, I don't think.
No, absolutely
he
not.
doesn't have
Not
the
my
singing chops anymore. Who does? Who's the guy that you would rather see in there?
Adam Lambert could probably do that.
Oh yeah, well, he's doing Queen.
He's with
isn't he?
Queen.
Oh,
busy.
okay, yeah.
He's
but
perfect.
he's got the chops
perfect for Queen.
because AC/DC's no joke.
He's more.
Yeah, it's up there.
He's got the vocal ability, but he doesn't have the grasp.
That's what I'm thinking.
Why does AC/DC pick? Because you got to know that Axl's going to be an idiot.
But
I mean,
he's a draw.
Is he?
Axl Rose is a draw.
Did you guys see that meme that said, "Welcome to the jungle. We've got tons of cake." And current picture of Axl Rose,
Did
and
you
he's
find out?
enormous.
Is he?
Yeah,
He's-
he's a pretty big guy.
Yeah,
now.
he's not in player shape. That's
No.
for sure.
Wow.
He's gonna have to hit the treadmill for a while.
I mean, you can have Axl Rose, and he's a bit of a draw, but you can have Frankie Perez go out there, and AC/DC is a draw. And this guy Frankie Perez that plays in Vegas, he can sing every song. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. But there's guys who can do that job. Why pick Axl? Because it's
Because
like
they think they need to start a front end.
it's like picking Scott Weiland to be in your band. You know it's going to be a problem. You know Axl's going to be a problem. Look, he just got back together with his band, and he left.
Look, man, you just get an actuary and you sit him down with his table and you give him his computer and you go, "All right, just tell me how many shows we can do."
Was AC/DC
before it
having
all-
trouble selling tickets?
before it all melts?
You know,
I can't imagine that they're having trouble selling tickets at all. But I don't
Well,
know.
they're not now. But if they get a guy who's untested and unknown,
Even if you got a guy who
Miles
could do
Kennedy.
it, who could have the rasp and
Miles
have the
Kennedy can do
talent,
it.
he's
probably needs
not
to work.
going to be a draw.
Probably
It's
go
just like
go do it right
it's
now.
just like Queen. If you didn't watch American Idol, you'd know who Lambert was.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
You know
true,
what I
but that was the catalyst for
We
Queen.
just solved it. Miles Kennedy.
all right. See
Of course,
that? Solving the world's problems.
A different kind of voice
Yeah.
than Brian Johnson has. Nobody sounds like Brian Johnson. I think they don't on purpose.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I mean, he's got
I'm
Brian
telling
John. It's got a certain. It's got a certain. I mean, everything from "Shook Me All Night Long" to "Back in Black" and everything since. It's been. That came out in 1980, and it was just the biggest record at the time. And huge, and it's got a certain vibe to it. His voice has got a certain vibe to it. But Steve and I, the guitar player from Cry Wolf, the other night we were at a show with the last singer of Cry Wolf. We had a female singer named Dinah. And Dinah's in an AC/DC tribute band, all female AC/DC tribute band.
All right.
And
What's it called?
Called Fund Her Struck.
Man,
Fun her what?
And she
Fund Her
Fund
Struck.
Her Struck.
Struck.
And Dinah's
Oh,
a bad.
Struck.
She's
Yeah, Thunderstruck.
Thunderstruck.
But
No,
it's
no,
fun,
that was the
it's-
AC/DC.
That's the
It's
plain
fund
words.
Her struck. So
Fund?
the her is kind of fund.
Oh, fun.
Her.
it's
They got the
Thunderstruck
in
with
there.
her
Because
in
it's
the
an
middle.
all-female
Because
band.
it's female.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what I love about a tribute band is you can take the material,
Oh, okay,
do
yeah,
material,
yeah.
but you always have to name it something that's a play on whatever
Right.
the brand is. Like there's a my favorite is there's a in the Bay Area there's a Ramones cover band, all female, and they're called the Hormones.
There you go. Yeah. See there. That's exactly it. That's we have a whole conversation about tribute bands.
Yeah.
I played a few shows with an Eagles tribute band
Oh.
called The Long Run, of course,
Right.
and honestly, probably one of the best bands I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean they're one of the
They
most.
nail it.
What's that?
They nail it vocally and
They
everything.
nail everything. Everything is nailed. Great musicians, great vocals, and with a real respect for the Eagles.
For the
but they're the
material.
most professional band I've ever seen.
Wow.
And we played couple of the last Cry Wolf shows was playing with Foreigner.
Wow.
And at the time I was like Foreigner, and still I mean they just had it down. I mean they were Foreigner, so but just everything was just like totally pro. And playing with the Long Run was kind of like that with me. It opened up a whole different.
And did
way
you
of
actually
thinking
sing
for
like
me.
Timothy B. Schmidt's parts and
Yeah.
everything? Yeah.
and
That's
all,
sweet.
and Randy Meisner, all that really high stuff.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is like, it's like I didn't know I could do it.
You're like, you're the bass player, man.
Neither did Randy. Randy's like, oh, I'm not doing it tonight. We're not playing that song.
I
I'm
know.
like, no, we have to do it.
I know, but like you know, the song "One of These Nights."
Yeah.
That background that Meisner hit was just. I mean, I don't know how he did. It's like a dog whistle.
Yeah.
But so yeah,
We all try to hit it.
Yeah.
I can do. I'll do it. If I could do the notes, it's. That's
Wow.
the note.
I'd say it's done.
Damn.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, you know what? Just I know we're jumping around in subjects, but man, I feel so bad for Randy Meisner.
Yeah.
You know I don't know if you had heard the story, but within the last few weeks, Randy Meisner, who's the original bass player in the Eagles, he left before the long run came out in 1979. So he this is early on in the 70s.
It's a great documentary on Netflix.
Oh, really?
All
It's
that.
2-part.
Really?
Beautiful.
It's three. Yeah, it's three.
The
It's
Eagles
hours
documentary.
long.
Yeah.
so good.
Oh, I gotta check that
It's
out.
2 full documentaries. The first
Yeah.
one is about the Eagles. the
Up to
first
that
time.
point, yeah.
And then the second one was about when the Eagles decided, let's put it back
They
together.
basically
Put
shut it down.
on
With
the road.
Glenn Fry's like, "We get off the stage. I'm going to kick your." This having a fight while they're
While
playing.
they're on stage.
Yeah.
While they're on stage,
It's
yeah.
done.
Glenn
Great,
Fry's
man.
like 3 more songs. I'm going to kick your
Yeah.
ass. So, but Randy Meisner, so when he left the band, he kind of fell into some bad health, drinking a lot. He became an alcoholic, had problems with it. He was hospitalized a few times because of it. Not doing well for the past few years, and he was married to this woman, and this is just recently, within the last 10 years, I think they were married. Police were called out to the house a lot, domestic abuse on both of their parts. It was just not a good situation. And a few weeks ago, apparently she was digging a gun out of a closet in a soft shell case.
Uh-oh.
And she pulled the gun out. Something in the case was
snagged
oddly
the
enough,
trigger.
spurs that were in the case, shifted in the case, blew the top of the case off, shot her head off. Or shot her in the head.
Wow.
And so
Did she live?
it's no.
Okay.
Killed her
Oh.
immediately. As a matter of, and so there was a lot of suspicion around it. He called 911, and the fire police? No, it was
Chief.
fire police.
Them two.
Yeah. Fire trucks came and whatever, and they saw it. And so then, when somebody gets their head shot off, there's a lot of suspicion with the spouse.
Sure.
But she was apparently a kind of a paranoid person, so she had a lot of cameras inside their house, and the whole thing was caught on tape.
Oh, good.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
And sad. It's sad. I really feel bad for the guy. He was such an unbelievably talented bass player. He was, and
Yeah.
singer.
Yeah.
To me, he was like, it's kind of like Michael Anthony from Van Halen. He was like their secret weapon.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah.
The thing about Michael Anthony, too, is they just didn't even call him. What's going on there?
That's just a lot of hate and anger over
Yeah.
just decades to do that. So,
Man, I don't know. That's really sad. I've met all those guys, and they've all been really cool. Alex is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Okay.
Man.
I'm glad to hear
Alex
that.
is a great.
but those guys are family, though. They're on the road. I mean, it's easy to be
Yeah.
nice to you and nice to me, but when you've been pissed off at someone, and it's bills, it's like a divorce.
Yeah.
No one would treat that person that they fell in love with that way at the end.
Right.
But God, they're dysfunctional as fuck.
Yeah, they are. It's funny. I'm reading the Van Halen biography right now, and I'm in the really, really early days. I'm at the point before Dave even joined the band. And early on, like Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, they were known for being like the musician.
Right.
Didn't move on stage at all. Eddie just absolutely was frozen solid, would not move. But
Too
he could
busy.
play- Yeah, but he could play.
Had work to do.
He could play Albert
Yeah.
like nobody business or whatever. He could just play Clapton or whatever and just improvise and just be phenomenal. But he was just frozen.
Right.
And then here comes Dave, is
Yeah.
some flamboyant whatever
Karate kicking.
Yeah,
Wearing a
karate
fedora.
kicking,
Luckily, he was moving enough for everybody.
samurai guy. And so I'm excited to see what happens next. I haven't read
Yeah.
it, but
Isn't it amazing how most really big bands disperse? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
throughout their careers, they have these really big careers. And a Tribe Called Quest, one of the
Five
biggest
Kids
hip hop
passed
bands.
away.
Yeah.
But
Five
you
is
would think-
gone?
Yeah.
You know?
Where you been?
He died
It was like a
Thursday.
week ago or something?
No!
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But
Yeah.
you would think,
Why is
I mean,
everybody-
from the outside, you always think, what do they have to fight about?
He had diabetes.
On top of the world.
Okay, yeah. He called himself the funky diabetic.
Funky diabetic, yeah.
Well, you know, the like the police, for example, you know, the police broke up in
Yeah.
early on.
Mm-hmm.
With these massive careers. What?
No.
The Beatles!
And they
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. What the
Right,
fuck
yeah.
happened there?
We have
Yeah.
the best thing
Let's
ever
go
of all
right back
time.
to the beginning.
Fuck all you all.
Never happened to
Leave it.
anybody.
Yeah.
well, you know, it's like there's no
Metallica?
Yeah. Well, Metallica's
It's not
still
broken
together.
up.
Oh, okay. I was watching those. I was watching some documentary, and they were arguing with each other. They were
Well, you know, the funny thing is, band. If you're that kind of band, if you're the Police, if you're Metallica, or if you're whoever, there's no need to break up. Honestly, there is no. What
It
disagreements?
is if you're writing the songs, you're getting all the money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm,
Well, that's
you know
okay,
what I
but
mean?
that's true.
That's what happens.
That's
though.
true. But there was this thing with like when Kiss got back together and they did the original four members and they did a tour and it didn't go well, you know, as you'd imagine. Well,
Same old.
well,
Ticket
what happened
sales
was-
or attitudes?
Which is why you didn't see that Eagles.
Yeah.
It
I'm
really
gonna
explains
check that
all
out.
Well, the thing about the Kiss thing was Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons from Kiss dedicated their lives to that band.
Right.
You know, Peter Criss quit, Ace Frehley quit at different points, and then when they were going to get back together, I think that Peter Criss and Ace Frehley thought, well, it's going to be a four-way split. You know, we're going to split everything four ways.
Not anymore, it's not.
You know, that doesn't happen with Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
But
It didn't happen in the Eagles.
And Gene, you're right.
Yeah.
And
If you're in a
the
band
thing-
with a guy named Chaim, he's not taking
No.
an even split.
No, he's not.
you know what? And I have a lot of respect
Didn't
for
happen
Gene
with
Simmons.
NWA.
His whole
He's a businessman.
He's a
man.
businessman. And his whole argument was like, look, Paul Stanley and I, we've made this our lives. We didn't quit. So, you know, this is our band. We're going to do this. You're going to make more. I think that Peter Criss and Ace Frehley were given $1 million salary to do the tour. And
Which is
you know,
nothing for a Kiss tour.
it's nothing for a Kiss
tour.
tour. And Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, I'm sure, made copious amounts more
Sure.
than that. But
It's like one.
but you know, they were like,
That's
their
tonight.
position was, it was like, look, this is all we've done. This is our life here that we've done, and I understand. I get that. You know, the thing about the Eagles, though, on the other hand, I'll say this on the other hand, because like Don Felder is a great guitar player.
Sure.
He wrote Hotel California.
Yeah.
You know, these guys wrote. Randy Meisner wrote "Ticket to the Limit."
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't invited back for the tour, but they all had hands in the writing of this stuff. And so when Don Henley and Glenn Frey kind of came in and did the same thing about, we're going to put you guys on salary, and we are the two co-CEOs of this company called the Eagles. Well, you can argue whether or not that was right or not.
Yeah, not everybody's going to take that the same way.
Right.
You know, it's a negotiating point.
Yeah.
Some people are going to go, I don't agree with it. I'm not doing it. And other people are going to go, well, you know what then? You get to worry about all the bullshit. I'm going to show up. I'm going to have my dressing room the way I like my dressing room. I'm going to play the gig. I'm going to go home. I'm good with that.
The problem that Randy Meisner had, he's not Don Henley. He's not as good. And any song that Don Henley wants to sing, that's his fucking song.
Well, Don Henley is has one of the best voices of
Ever.
And he's in that band. Your problem is you're in that band. Like, you'd be a great guy in any other band.
It's like being Jermaine Jackson.
Yeah.
Jermaine Jackson is the baddest dude in any room.
Yes.
Except for the room that Michael's in.
Yeah.
I mean, any one of the Jackson 5 would have been the best dude in any. You stick fucking Marlon in the Gap Band, and he's running everything.
Wow, that's a funny freaking analogy. You're right, though. You're right.
I mean, look at Joe Walsh, right? Joe Walsh can run his own band.
Oh yeah,
And he's like,
and he does, and it's great.
Yeah.
but in
Like,
the Eagles,
in the Eagles, I'm Joe Walsh from the Eagles,
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
I
that's-
hope you guys will take me back.
Yeah. Glenn Frey, the next guy, you got Glenn Frey and Don Henley. You're not going to be better than either one of those guys. They're just...
And they did have
That's
a really,
special.
really strong point when they came back. They said, look, we have been sticking this out.
Yes.
You know, you guys quieted down and all that stuff, but all the momentum we have right now is based on us.
Yeah.
So guess what? We're the show now.
We've still been selling the
You
album.
got
you
up out
can
of your
get in
seat.
line,
Yeah.
or we can go hire Timothy B.
You should have
Schmidt.
stayed in your seat.
Right.
Timothy B.
Yeah.
Schmidt's like, I'll take that job.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, Poco ain't doing shit. I'm
Yeah.
not going to with you guys. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's true. But when the Eagles got back together in '94, I think Don Felder especially kind of thought it was going to be like, we're going to be a band and 5 guys and everything's going to be split evenly, and that didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of bad blood there.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy he came up with a riff that was the basis for Hotel California, which is one of the most classic rock songs ever.
Yeah.
And so obviously I don't have any information about, I'm not privy to how they split things up. I would just hope that they would compensate those guys that contributed that.
Yeah.
With Timothy B. Schmidt, I can't tell you why, was the Eagles' first number 1 hit.
Wow.
That's right.
And so,
That's right. Yeah.
they, so I would like to think that they would take that into consideration when they were divvying out everyone's salaries,
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my story.
But you could pitch that if you were in that position. You would go, okay, all right. I get that you guys are running the show now. So how about we let you run the show, but here's what I'd like my salary to be, and here's why I think that's fair.
Yeah, negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
And
I did like I mentioned this with the Eagles tribute band, The Long Run.
yeah,
the way I kind of, it's weird the way that I kind of contacted them, but the bass player Jim's a great guy. They're all really great guys. I was invited to play a show with them in Chicago and St. Louis. Did a couple of shows about a year ago, and right off the bat they told me, said, we split everything 5 ways. Everybody's makes whatever we make as a pool. Once expenses are paid, split 5 ways. Everybody made. They didn't even know me, and I was like, "Why can't the Eagles do this?"
yeah,
A lot more money on the line.
yeah.
Well, that's true.
Because you get to the point, this being on tour, you get to the point where you feel like, dude, I'm doing this. You go back to your hotel room.
Yeah.
I'm still here doing, fuck that.
That's
I
my brand.
deserve,
Yeah.
I'm producing.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You just come in and playing
Right.
the show. All
Yeah.
you do is sound check in the show.
Yeah.
I'm still here till 12 o'clock.
Well, that was one of the things with Van Halen, too, because Van Halen, early on in their career, and Eddie has mentioned this, that it was a stupid thing on his part, is they split everything 4 ways. That they did with the original band. I don't know how things have been changed now or renegotiated.
Sure.
And he was like, I'm writing everything, and I'm still making the same amount as somebody who's not writing
That's
any of
Mike.
it.
That's exactly what happens. You get these million platinum hits, and you're like, I'm splitting these with these guys.
It doesn't
You know
even,
what I mean?
but I don't think it has to be million platinum hits, because you could be making $400 a night. I mean, do the stakes make the difference, or are you sitting there going, man, we're only making $400 a night, and I'm giving you $100, and I'm taking $100, and I've written everything?
I think
At some point, it's all going to get on your nerves.
I think so.
I think it's just over time, and if you're lucky, over time, the pool grows. But even if the pool doesn't grow, at some point you're going to be like, "Fuck this guy, man! He leaves. Where are you going?
Yeah.
I have to pack up your amp too."
Yeah, and then you got to deal with people in your ear.
That's what happened to War, actually, because when War was a starving young band, they would go to this burger joint in Long Beach, and they would split 3 burgers 7 ways.
Wow.
They figured out how to. Okay, we
What
got 3
War
burgers,
was
we're doing this.
getting, they were getting ripped by their management, who was the same manager that managed Sly.
Yeah,
Jerry, not to mention any names, but
right.
everybody that he managed was getting ripped off. Everybody was. So a lot of
That
that
was
is.
the thing back then. Matter of fact,
Well,
it's
it's still
going
a thing.
on.
It's still a thing. NWA.
Yeah.
Eazy-E was like, oh, I'm a band. And Ice Cube was writing all the hit songs.
Hold on. We got to talk about that right quick. Because I've been obsessed. Just this week, I've been watching all these documentaries with Vlad TV. This dude who interviews all those rappers and whatever. And he was interviewing Eazy-E's son. And he was talking about, he started off by saying, I interviewed you, 7 years ago, whatever, back, in Eazy-E's old home. And you were still there. And I noticed the entire time you were standing there looking over your shoulder the whole time we were interviewing you. You're freaking Eazy-E's son. And he made a point. He said, my dad was worth $50 million when he died. He was 11 years old, right? Mm-hmm. In the movie, they make it look like Eazy took this and took that and, signed over, he owned this, he owned the publishing, blah, blah, blah. Right. He's like, my dad put up everything.
Yeah, right.
He did.
He was the money man.
Doesn't the executive producer on anything you do end up with the most of everything? Mm-hmm. So why shouldn't he get? So I was like, I never quite thought about it like that. That's kind of interesting.
It sucks, but it's legitimate, and that's part of the price to get in at that level because Jerry's right. Those guys they're going to walk into any place and sell shit. And when they do, they're going to get the same shitty deal.
You still should have the perspicacity to let everybody know this is what I'm getting, and this is what you're getting.
Correct.
If you do that at the front, you're not going to have if you do that at takeoff, you're going to have a great landing.
But when you're getting that opportunity, when some guy's like, I can break this band, let's keep this simple. Let's get this done. Let's go make some money, and then we'll figure it out. Like, I can see that being the case because you're trying to get
suicide because you're going on the road thinking.
But we know that now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you can see that in.
When they're saying, "Hey, go to Japan," you guys are like, "Fuck yeah, let's go to Japan."
Let's go.
You know?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Here's money," and you're like, "All right, cool." And the next thing
I'm
you know,
a gaijin and I like Japanese pussy.
yeah. I mean, think about it this way: Paul McCartney's still trying to get his songs back. You know?
This is why.
They didn't own the publishing.
I know that's it. I mean,
The look.
That's the business of it.
That's the business, and it
Right.
sucks. It sucks that Sly had to go through that. But that's the business.
There's a great book out there that I read that really just opened my eyes to the way music business works by a guy named Moses Avalon, and it's called Confessions of a Record Producer.
Oh, I heard about that book. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a must read if you're in the music business, and it'll make you not want to be in the music business. And I mean, the latest version talks about like 360 deals and that kind of stuff that's out now. But there's a point where he talks about the perspective of the music business from an artist, from a record label, and from a producer.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like, as an artist, you go in, and
here's what you believe.
This is what you believe, and this is what the reality is.
Yeah.
And for record label, and, the record label is making an investment.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's what you need to be true if you're the record label.
Yeah. And so then this is
You've
what
got this dreamer over
do.
here doing these things.
Yeah.
You gotta rope him in.
So we're gonna, and then from the producer's aspect, you're a producer that brings in an act or brings in an artist to the label, and then the label says, "All right, we're gonna have you produce this band and record the music, help them write the music, whatever they need to do. You're gonna make the product." In that trifecta, there, the producer has the best deal. Because the producer really, they're not putting up the money.
Right.
And, if a band, if you're...
They get the better back-end participation.
Yes. And if you're a band, it's kind of like, if you come in, you're 4 guys, and you're like, all right, we got signed, we're going to make an album, and it doesn't work, well, that could be your only shot. Or you might be lucky to get another one or a couple more. But that's like this, that's your dream. And so you're rolling the dice on your freaking dream. Producer is like, I got another artist I'm working with in 6 weeks.
Right, if this shitty band doesn't do it, hey guys, come on in,
And from a production standpoint, I looked at that going, if you're going to be in the music business, don't be an artist, don't be a record label, you can be a producer.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are really able to make a career. And that's really what it comes down to. If you're in this business because you want to get rich,
You ain't going to get rich.
college.
No, it's not going to.
It's
not
never
gonna-
the gold miner that gets the money.
Right?
It's the guy that sells the jeans,
Yeah.
and
Right,
the boots, the
Right.
buttons. The guy that
I
sells the
got
buttons.
shovels.
Yeah.
I got shovels.
Yeah.
There's a guy.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero,
Hey, and this is Pete Turner.
and if you like the show,
Do us a favor.
share it.
That's the biggest thing, honestly.
All your social media outlets, all your friends, let them know the ones that you like.
Yeah. I mean, we make this show for you guys. If you think it's great, say so. Say so by sharing it. Say so by putting a comment in after the show.
Also, if you go to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts, give us a rating, give us a review. If you think the show is great, please give us 5 stars and say so. And if you think the show really sucks, please give us 5 stars and say so.
Because, heck, we're listening.
That's right.
You can't be more approachable than us. We want to make the show better. If there's something that we're missing, let us know. That really is how you help us.
That's right. Tell us all about it. Thanks for listening.
And now, back to the show.
This guy's a good friend. It was an old friend of mine, a guy named Butch Walker. I don't know if you ever heard of Butch Walker. He's a producer.
Heard that name.
And he was in a band. I was actually, Cry Wolf was playing the country club. And we were flying the night before, and this tall, lanky, long-haired kid comes up to me and introduces himself. And he said he was a fan of Cry Wolf. And so this guy's name was Butch. And so we ended up talking and exchanged numbers and everything. And it was funny because we spent so much time talking on the phone about like music and life and everything. And my roommates sat me down and like, who's this Butch guy? Because you're spending a lot of time talking.
Yeah,
about
right.
The phone. I'm like, no. He's just like, but and so he so Butch was in a band at the time. They were called something I'm totally forgetting now. But they changed their name to South Gang, and they ended up getting a record deal and they toured. They put 2 albums out. They did well. They were on MTV and everything. And so as it happens, the hair metal thing ended. They're from Georgia originally, moved back to Atlanta, and band broke up, or the singer left, and so Butch continued on, and they changed the name to Floyd's Funk Revival, which he said was kind of a mistake because they started getting these like shows for like funk fest.
Right.
Later they were a rock band, and so
They'd show up and there'd be a bunch of lowriders.
exactly. And so
We can play Rawhide.
Nobody's yelling Freebird.
He said they can play Rawhide.
and so then they changed the name to Marvelous 3, ended up getting another record deal, and ended up getting like a minor hit for back in like the early 90s. And so Marvelous 3 record was a great record, production wise. And so Butch was approached by somebody. He's like, who produced this record? Because we like the way that it sounds. And his response was, well, I did it.
I guess it was me.
It was me. I did it because we had no money. I had no choice but to try to put this thing together. And whoever, I don't know who the label was, it may have been A&M, said, well, we have a new artist we're trying to work with and trying to get her a record made. Would you be willing to produce her? It was Avril Lavigne. So he co-wrote and produced Avril Lavigne's first record.
Wow.
And then he started working with a lot of bands from that era, producing their records. Then became a hotshot producer. And so he's still producing. He produces Pink. He produced Tommy Lee's record. And he still has his solo career. He still has his production career. And he's still writing songs for people that are hit songs. In fact, he was just on talking about American Idol. He produced Harry Connick Jr.'s latest record. And Harry Connick Jr., I guess, in one of the last shows, performed whatever new song it was, and Butch played with him on the show. And here's a guy, I'm like, this is the kid
that was the long-haired kid.
Yeah. And he just refused to give up.
Yeah.
He's got a lot bigger balls than I do.
That is the common thread for everybody that, they just fucking wouldn't go away.
Right, and you said it, like he had a lot bigger balls than I do, and that, and that's not a knock.
No.
That's just a fact.
I admit it. I mean,
But again, I was see it in retrospect.
I was like, I gotta get a job.
I can't see big balls right in front of me. I can't see them until later. Later, I can see.
He's
them.
never actually let me.
Excuse me
see
while
that. He was drunk and I was too, and I'm like,
And I was too.
pretty good time.
And I was too.
Yeah. I'm like, not bad.
And it's not even necessarily about ball. It's about choices. At some point, I got this girl. I can't be on the road anymore. I'm going to give this a shot. You make a choice on this. Yeah.
Goddamn girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girls.
Chicks, man.
You balance things out. You're trying to.
But it's all about where your heart is and where your
Yes.
priorities are.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with picking the girl.
No.
Or having the kid. Or
There's nothing
getting
wrong
the
with that.
medical coverage.
But it's what if you're a woman, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm 28. Okay, I got maybe another 10 years before I got to put out a kid. Do I want a kid or do I want to do music? Tina Davis. I had a conversation with her. She said I had a choice to make. Do I want to have a family or do I want to do music?
Yeah.
She said I'm doing music. So
Right.
it's the same thing. If you
If
you love it, then you do it because of the love and not because of the money.
Yeah.
Because
And now
especially in the
Chris
music
Brown
industry,
bites on the
you're
ear
not
'cause
gonna
she
get
didn't
rich.
Not today.
No, not today. No.
today.
Well, it's funny. You're right. It's all whatever's in your heart.
Right.
I know people that I've played in bands with that are so focused on whatever I need to do to become famous that just drives me crazy.
Right.
You're missing the point.
Right.
I think
And they're still not finished.
Right.
no.
Right?
No, and
Because
you
that
reach a
just
point.
doesn't happen.
You reach a point where you have to look back and say, I don't think the world is looking for a new rock band of guys in their 50s.
Right.
You know?
or rappers in their 40s starting out.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you want to play and that's where your heart is and
Do it.
then do it. But don't do it because you think, oh, this is a vehicle for me getting famous
It's
or
the wrong
rich
precipice.
or whatever. And it's like, that's
everybody's got to work. Richard Cheese makes money.
Yeah.
He's got to work, and every night that guy's out doing his gig.
yeah.
That's Pete's example. Richard Cheese.
Well, you know,
But who picks that career?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing wrong with Richard Cheese. I love what he does. But
Well, and hopefully
gets
he
into-
does too.
Yeah.
and
clearly he does too.
And
But-
on the opposite end, I'll take somebody like Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah.
who's pushing 70 years old,
Right.
still goes out and does 3-hour concerts, and
Running.
just sings his ass
Yeah.
off, running around.
Man.
He doesn't have to do that anymore.
No.
He
Man.
does it because it's
Man, It was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was doing a rehearsal. George Clinton, Sly Stone.
Oh, man.
It was George's turn to get up. It was damn near 5 a.m. George, it's your turn. Get up. He gets up and he starts singing like he's in front of he's shaking his head around and he's bobbing, and I'm in shock. I thought he was just gonna like sit down like some people.
He's George Clinton. He could just walk up there
exactly.
if he wanted to.
It's because he's George Clinton.
Yeah.
George Clinton is in a different. I mean, he's George Clinton.
Yeah.
I'd never witnessed that kind of love of music until I saw that.
That's their element. That's when you feel the most comfortable.
Man, blew me away. Just
I'm not at all surprised.
I was shocked because he didn't. Because I did Lauryn Hill.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. You know what I mean? Walks in the rooms, like looks around. If the band is killing, okay, I'll get up there and I'll do a little something. But she doesn't have the. I mean, she sold probably more
finally
records.
Just came back.
Yeah,
Okay, she was gone for 10 years.
She was gone for a long time.
She wasn't gone for 10 years. She was gone for 6 years.
Whatever.
You know what I mean?
Years.
But that's the thing, is that the 4 years that we think, oh, she was gone 10 years. No, she was around. She just didn't kick it into gear.
Now, if you talk to her and you talk to Chappelle, same kind of from my personal conversation.
I see. Yeah.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm talking about is,
and she's entitled to that.
Yeah.
That's her.
Well, yeah. Whatever your reason is.
Yeah.
But I'm comparing her love of like, hey, we're about to rehearse, to George Clinton, who's probably, if not 70.
Yeah.
Right
there. Yeah.
Singing, and,
he's close to
Still
town.
singing the same songs too.
Yeah.
You know,
like coming over. Do y'all know we want the funk? Oh, duh.
which is something interesting. Let me just bring this up. You were talking about Gene Simmons.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you guys saw the interview he did with Dan Rather. But Dan Rather asked him, so you guys have been playing for 40 years. No new songs? he asked him straight up. And Gene, fucking God bless him, he said, I realized a long time ago, we're the type of band, this set fucking works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not the type of band that goes out and makes new albums.
That's
every year.
AC/DC
We do it every
too.
10 years. We might make a song or something. You know what I mean?
It is AC/DC.
You know what I mean?
Rolling Stones.
This tour works. Sells out. We're the biggest band ever in the world. We have more than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The words that
alone-
everybody hates. Hey, here's one from our new album.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's like,
God.
okay.
We don't want to hear that.
I compete.
Aerosmith went. I heard this a couple years ago. Aerosmith went in to record a new album. They booked the time. They went into the studio. They're writing songs. And like Steven Tyler was like, "Why are we doing this? No one wants to hear these new songs. If we go out and tour after this, that means we're going to have to take Dream On or Back in the Saddle out of
Something's
the set.
gotta come out.
That's what people
Something
want
has
to
to
hear."
come out.
What everybody's saying is that you become typecasted. Now, is that a bad thing? Does everybody only want to see Clint Eastwood in westerns?
No,
But when you go to a concert,
When you go to
you
a
want to
concert,
hear certain songs. No
Yeah.
matter who the band is, you want to hear the hits.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear the obscure shit.
So it's okay to be typecast.
You get to a point where you have
If
a
you're
body
fucking
of work.
Gene Simmons, you're gonna
Right.
make-
Yeah,
Get
if
to
you
a
have
point where you have a body of work.
if you have a
Right.
And your fan base gets to a point. This is what I will say, is that my desire to hear new songs by Prince.
Okay, I was just
There
about
was
to
a
bring
point
that up.
in my life where Prince would put out a new album, and I would go get it the morning it came out.
Right.
And it would be in my tape decks, CD player, whatever year it was.
8-track.
Right. For the next
Victrola.
pull out an old 78 on the Victrola. Let me tell you,
on the hood of my Packard.
that vanity was a real looker. Yeah, it's
you say Pat Kennedy? You go way back.
man. So no, you're right.
But at some point, your ability to digest new music, if you're a listener, you go, I don't need new music.
Yeah.
I need these songs because I love these songs because I attach them to memories. If I'm Brenna, I've still got 10 years of creating memories against new songs that come out.
But,
And then
but
I
how
get
can
to
a group
point-
like U2, as an example, keep making new music and you keep buying, they keep touring, they keep?
Yeah, you
why
know.
can some people do it and some people can't?
Is that what
Is that what you're saying?
You know what?
Yeah,
That's an
the question.
excellent. That's a great point.
Right.
Let's let Pete answer it because he's the U2 expert in the room.
All right, let's go.
Why, Pete?
Because Bono called me the other day. So go ahead and tell me.
Yeah. I'll tell you. First off, Edge keeps finding new blue water. He keeps finding new textures, and he doesn't. It's not just a guitar for him. He's got a whole.
He's got a room. I've seen.
So is he the main producer in that group?
Well, he comes up with the feel, the texture, right? And then Bono can find the character to sing from. He doesn't have to sing from himself. He can, he does, and they have great music from that. Sure. Doesn't have to sing about a political issue. He can sing about you, and he can draw you out. And because of that, they're able to find new territory to get into, and they're not afraid. The other thing they're not afraid of is they'll take their time putting an album out. They won't rush it, and they have they have great people around them. But we're not going to put out something that's good. We're only putting out things that are great, and we'll eat 500 songs, spend a lot of money producing them, and throw them away because the songs that come out are great.
You just went into something. I know we're going long.
He
just went into something really interesting. So I just got into a long conversation. It was me and a whole bunch of. We were in the writers' room here the other day. We were talking with all these comedians, right? And we were talking about Tupac, and they were like,
"This is Hilliard guest from
the
Screenwriters Rant Room."
You know how we do it. We were talking about: is Tupac dead? Is Biggie dead? Is somebody? It was like a whole bunch of people, and somebody's like, "Okay, how in the hell are you gonna come out with all these new songs all the time? Right? Every 3 years there's a new fucking Pac album, right? Boom, boom, boom." Well, and I said just what you said.
Yeah.
They be recording 500 fucking songs.
Yeah.
You be in the studio. You guys keep recording.
Yeah.
Some of them are demos. Some of them are half done. Some of them are whatever. And some producer comes in when you die.
Yeah.
And goes, you know what? I can finish this.
Suge Knight needs money.
That's why Michael was able to put out more records, but he'd be rolling over in his grave if he heard this last.
Because he didn't want that stuff out. It's like all this stuff. Like we found a new Jimmy. No, please don't put any more Jimi Hendrix out.
Well, it's funny because a friend of mine, my friend singer Tim from Crying Wolf, actually years ago met Eddie Van Halen, went to his house, and Ed is playing piano. He's doing the thing, and he pointed up and he said to Tim, he pointed at the wall, was just full of 2-inch tapes, like 20 foot wide, 10 foot high, just 2-inch tapes of all these recordings that he's done and never released, just stuff that he's recorded. And he said to Tim, he said, "See that over there? It's like when I die, they're gonna have 100 years worth of music to still put out." And so, if I guess if you sign off on it. And I don't know if John Lennon signed off on Free as a Bird when the Beatles re-released it, 20-something years ago after his death. I don't know if he would have wanted that out. But, I mean, if there's music there, there's money to be made from it. Yeah. Likely it's going to be put out.
Let me ask you a question. Where would you like to see music go in the industry?
Well, man, I don't know. It is so tough right now. I read an article this morning about the number one album by Billboard magazine this week is Rihanna's.
Rihanna's, yeah.
Work.
No, it's Anti.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sold this week 17,000 records.
Yep.
That's the number one record?
Yes. Number one selling album in the history.
You get dropped for that.
Yes.
You would that wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah.
That was her release?
That was well, it's been out for a couple of weeks.
It's the second time at number one, but not in consecutive
weeks. But still 17,000 records. So I don't know where I'd like to see it go. I think I see where it's going now. And it's just my theory is that there's a band that I really liked, a fairly new band called Satellite that came out a few years ago, and the band's already over. And the singer he's recently, I saw on Facebook, he signed a deal with Disney as a writer, as a songwriter. He's a great songwriter. And that's what he was doing originally. He was a songwriter, put this band together, and then he went back to songwriting, signed a deal with Disney, and this is where I think it's going to go, is that labels like Disney are going to sign writers, and people are going to be writing contemporary pop music. Disney's going to approach an artist, or will be approached by an artist like a young girl that can sing, who's really good looking, and say, these are the songs that you're going to sing. And if she's like, well, no, I'm an artist, I don't do that. Well, there's a line of people behind you that will do it. And so then that is where it's going to be, everyone's going to be on salary.
Who's willing to get in this mill?
But then I started thinking about it, I'm like, this is the Motown model. Yeah. It's exactly what it was back then. You had the Funk Brothers, you had this rhythm section. Yeah. And so it's basically the same. It's the same model that was around in the 60s.
What are your thoughts on streaming and what they're paying the writers?
I think it's awful. There was
I do too.
I saw a thing with Bette Midler. I don't know if you saw that thing that she posted 6 months or so ago. Bette Midler, I think it was Spotify and Pandora. She actually made a copy of her statement and posted it online. She had, I think, 1.4 million plays of her music, and she received a royalty check for $1,700.
Jesus. Wow.
And she's
that's about right.
And she's like, you can't make a living at this.
No.
You can't. New songwriters.
I got a statement. One play, one spin, 0.001.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they say that, what is it? It was like on Spotify, because when you talk, you factor in like record sales and that kind of thing, 1,500 plays of a song is considered to be one sale.
One unit moved. Yeah.
One unit moved.
Wow.
And so,
1,500.
I don't know if they're making a lot of money.
Oh,
I don't know.
Advertising.
Yeah.
It's $10 a month to have Pandora.
So
or
what they've
Spotify.
done is they've amassed all this content
Yes.
by cheapening the content creation
Yeah.
and putting it out there and making advertising dollars. And because we as consumers are willing to say, oh, I'll listen to music that's free. Sure, I will. I'll grab a commercial every now and again. And it's no different than being on the radio, except now we all have these devices and we can call up the music that we like. Before, I had to listen to KFRC for 3 days in a row
Rose program.
just to hear,
3 days in a row.
Right, exactly. So now you don't have to be patient with it. You don't have to listen to all the ads. You can just say, oh, no, I'm going to call that up, and then I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to listen to 3 or 4 songs in one commercial, and then I'm going to go somewhere else, do something else. So it sucks to be a content creator, but anytime there's an ecosystem and one part of the ecosystem is getting robbed, the ecosystem will melt.
Yeah.
So,
But it will. I'm meeting people who are starting websites that were saying, okay, we'll start a website that will compete with Pandora.
Sure.
And we'll pay our writers their fair share.
Yeah.
But whether they can compete with Pandora and Spotify, it remains to be seen.
Well, if the top acts, Taylor Swift pulled her stuff off. She didn't want,
But she can afford to do that.
Yeah, but she leads the way. And the other thing is there's been other ways to make music. So, like back in the classic era, you belonged to that Duke or that Earl, and that guy paid you. And you so that's going to happen. People are going to work for a benefactor
and be exploited.
Yeah, what they always have been, like they always will be.
Right.
But that person will say, listen, I'm going to give you a very good living. You can make all the music you want, but it belongs to Apple. And it's going to be our catalog of music. You're going to get paid, but this is what it's going to be. And other people are going to do like more of the Mozart thing. We're like, I'm just going to do my own private concerts. You're going to pay straight to me. And
which is where I think most of the people are going.
Yeah.
That's where
Stage it.
Everybody I know
know
with the
that-
band is doing their own shit and selling them themselves and selling the merch. And
Right.
The trick is to being able to kind of sift through that minutia of all these bands that are doing it and find people that you like. But I was thinking when you talk about Prince, the Dave Saker again, but he was this Dave? No. This guy's a guitar player, is like a Vallejo legend, and
He really is.
Yeah,
And he deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, he does. He was telling me a story years ago that he was recording for these guys, recording guitar tracks in the record plant in Sausalito, and Dave was there, and he had his headphones on or whatever. He had his guitar, and he was recording this guitar track, and he said he felt something, and he stopped. He was like, he turned around, and there was this guy standing there.
Middle of the night.
Middle of the night, this guy standing there. Real quiet guy comes walking up to him, and he's like, hey, and then they were talking for a few minutes.
Little bitty motherfucker, too.
Yeah.
Got high heels on.
They were talking for a few minutes, and then, he said he was a really nice guy, kind of quiet and shy or whatever, and he walked off. He said Dave, he's like, he liked his playing or whatever. The guy walked off, and they were like, that's weird. He's like, I felt the guy behind me. It was Prince when he was recording his first album in the record plant.
Yeah, they
And
put
nobody
him
heard
up,
of him.
and he lived at the record plant for
Yeah.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And so, where are those people going to come from?
Yeah.
Where are the princes who's one of the most talented, in a handful of musicians in history,
Right.
rock musicians or contemporary musicians in history, like he's got to be in the top 5. Like Paul McCartney, as far as just being able to be such a
Just
musical
output of
badass.
Yeah.
And are those people going to become attorneys?
Right.
Are they going to look at the music business and go, there's nothing
Unhappy toll takers
Well,
who
it
are an
has to
asshole
find
in the
its.
world.
It has to find its light.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to look at the Donald Trump and the real estate. When all his friends were bouncing, he was like, "I like real estate. I think I gotta stay." I think it has to find its light. I love music. This is how I eat. It's how I make my living, and my feelers are out. Trying to find, paying my rent and doing everything that I'm doing to survive because I love music first and foremost. Fame, don't care about. Making and writing the next song or or scoring the next film or whatever I can do as far as art, it has to find its light. And I think that's the beauty of it. Because if you look at what art form in the history of the planet has completely died off, we still have classical music. We still have symphonies. Every major city has a symphony orchestra. Sure. Classical music is not dead.
So the art form will refuse to die. I agree with
that's what I'm trying to say.
But what I'm saying is the ecosystem that exists now and that continues to evolve toward, let's say, Pandora. I don't make Pandora the bad guy or Spotify, but they're the bad guy. If they're not paying their artists, eventually there's an ecosystem with a component that is fizzling. And that ecosystem, that whole ecosystem, because that one failure is happening, is going to melt. Something will replace it. Somebody will say, now I know what. And just like bands now have said, there's no way for me to sell 10 million records anymore. I can't make that living that way. Okay, what are you going to do?
Sell 10,000 a year and multiply that times $10 or $20.
And what I'm going to do is go out and play live, because what has happened in our lifetime that we can see is we used to go see Day on the Green for $5.
Yeah,
and we'd go there and we'd see some band saying, "Hey, here's our new record, and you're gonna love this song, and you'd love it." And then you go, "Man, I'd love to hear that song again. I'm gonna go buy the record
from Tower.
I'm gonna go to Tower Records in Concord."
Yeah,
that's right. And you go buy that record from Bobby Lee, and you would enjoy that record. Well, now that record is free.
Yeah.
And now you listen to the record and you go, "Holy shit, I bet you those guys are awesome live." And then they come to town and they go, "Hey, if you really like our record, come see us live. Come spend some money with us." And you go, and now you drop $100 to see a show. And then you get there and you go, "These guys are so amazing. I absolutely want to support what they do. I'm buying the hoodie for $75.
Right. Or $200 if you're Kanye.
Right.
So playing my t-shirt.
Or $3,000 if it's a shoe.
But this is why I think like the Apple and U2 model. Well, granted, I don't know what the gap is from not being established to where U2 is, but Apple can buy that album for $100 million or whatever they paid for it, and U2 can go, "We just made $100 million like that,
done."
And then their back catalog sells like crazy. People, they sold a shitload of music on Apple. So there's something to that model where that will work for some bands. It'll be the come see us play live for other,
There will be smart business people who
they will find the
smart
gap.
business person part.
But here's the question, though. Will the quality of the product be as good as it is now, or as it was? Or is it going to be like music going to be like food, where it's like McDonald's. McDonald's is easily accessible. Anybody can get. You can pick it up on any corner, but it's shit.
Well, quality in what way? Quality in the sound, because we've come from the warmth of analog, which is beautiful, and now we're in digital.
No, I mean the quality in the quality of songwriting.
Okay.
And the quality of the people, the music that's being put out. Because we all know people that when I as a musician and being really into music and artists and songwriters and that kind of thing, and you talk to somebody, it's like, "What kind of music do you like?" And they're like, "Whatever's on the radio." I don't really like. I don't know what that guy's name is, but and I'm just like, "Fuck."
The answer to that is this, and I'll use Firehouse as an example. Def Leppard's better. It's just flat out fucking better.
Well played.
And Firehouse might get a gig here and there, and they're going to make money. The guy that is 85% of David Lee Roth is going to go put on a fedora, and he's going to go make some money. But Def Leppard's going to win. Yeah. Because they're better. Prince is going to win.
And I'm going to say this to Phil and to Cori and to Hill, because I think deep down you guys all know this to be true. The quality always fucking wins. Yeah. Always. It's always wins. Okay, we used to have the warmth of analog. And then digital came along.
And then you come
and
my way!
All this digital music, and everybody's got their iPod or their 1,000 songs on their phone, and now we're listening to things that aren't as warm and aren't as... Amazon sold more vinyl players last Christmas than any other device to play music. More vinyl players. So that's going to come back because the quality will always win. It may take a long damn time.
Or is
it
it
may
popular
be
to have a vinyl
injustice. It may be an injustice for how long it takes to win, but the quality will always win.
I don't know if it's about the quality. I wonder if it's about like our generation, we're all, 40s, 50s, I'm assuming. So our generation, we bought certain records, right? You all too. We bought certain records, right? We like the thing about opening them up and looking and reading and seeing all the sleeves.
It's like sitting on the toilet. Just
now,
I was like Cori's record. I was in a beanbag chair.
You get a double album. You're like, oh my God, it's
right.
a good.
We are the age now where we have kids, right? Not my ass. I got 2 dogs. But when we have kids, so we're the ones buying our kids' albums and shit, so to speak, right? So that now that vinyl is back, we're the group who's buying them. I guarantee you, if you look at them, they're probably all guys who look like us.
Unless you're a DJ.
I can't say, but
I'm generalizing.
that's laptop now in Serato.
Yeah, I'm generalizing, but I would assume that a big portion of those guys are people over 40.
Let me ask the expert
people with
in
money.
pop music.
No, I agree.
You may be right.
I agree.
You may be right. Absolutely, you may be
They're
right
not
there.
spending 99 cents.
But here's the thing: when I was a little kid, I got lucky enough to figure out how to work my dad's record player and the headphones. I would put the headphones in the tuner and work my dad's record player. And my mom and dad were like, "Oh, holy shit, he's being quiet. Let's go fucking in the kitchen." I don't know. I think that's what they did. But I'm saying to your parents' kitchen. I would.
Your dad's like this. Nope, he's over there still.
Why can't we capture that? But what happened was that instead of listening to some bullshit, I discovered Tower of Power.
Yeah.
I discovered Earth, Wind, and Fire.
But that was what was hot at the time.
So let's ask Brenda though, because she's the person that's going to help redefine what happens. First off, what do you like better, older music from a different era, or do you like new music better? Do you think
Older music?
Why?
Yeah, there you go.
It's better, and they talk about more real things rather than now it's mostly just pop and all that. Yeah.
And where's music going?
Right now it's all poppy and all that. Nothing like great.
Nothing you want to spend money on.
Yeah. I want to go out of my way to go on iTunes and buy one of those songs, I guess.
And it's the quality question of the songwriting. Because if modern pop is crap, or if, I don't want to say modern pop is crap, there are great pop songs that are out there. But if a lot of the stuff that's being produced, and by produced I mean, that if it's crap, then people are going to look towards things that are older. They're going to look towards things that are maybe of a higher writing quality. When I talk about quality, I'm specifically talking about the quality of the song, and the strength of the melody, and the strength of the rhythm, the string. And because now, I have a Pro Tools system at home. Anybody can record an album at home.
GarageBand, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, where it is now, it's you either have to adapt or you're just gonna die. You just have to say, okay, I got to do more shows. So let me do a system where I can do more shows. Maybe give my CD away and then say, and come check out my band we're playing. Most people say you're a great keyboard player. Where are you playing at? Oh, I'm playing here, and here. That's what people want to see, because people will tell me all the time. I don't buy music.
Are we still going to concerts? People are at home a lot now. People or watching their computers on their phones and shit. Are you seeing from being on the show? And you guys go to a lot of shows. I mean, there's not a lot of people like you guys anymore. Because I drive up on Sunset Boulevard on Saturday night, just driving through.
Not like it was.
It's not that crowded anymore.
No.
You know what I mean?
I'll tell you.
That's because Cry Wolf's not out there anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, there was a period of time, like the last bit of Cry Wolf before we broke up, there would be discussions within the band about the best way to promote the band or best way to try to move up to the next step or whatever. And there was somebody in the band that was like, all we got to do is just play shows and be a great live band, and then people start coming to the shows, and then we'll get a record deal, because that's the way Van Halen did it. And I'd be like, dude, that's no,
that's so
that's not the way. That's not. I'm like, that's not
1974.
I'm like 1977 anymore, man. That's when I said when Van Halen was playing the clubs, their biggest competition was Quiet Riot and this band called Smile and that kind of thing. I said our biggest competition is Netflix. Our biggest competition is YouTube. Because anybody could stay home and get all the entertainment they want. You could watch a high definition live concert on channel 100 on DirecTV or whatever. But
do you know that we create the same amount of content every week? Every week.
You do this every week.
As we've done between the dawn of time and 1974.
We do.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's
we
how
or
much.
you?
2 weeks.
Oh,
That's
that's
how
how
much
much
humanity.
Oh, 2 weeks.
2
2 weeks.
weeks.
Every 2 weeks, society creates as much content as we did between the dawn of time and 1974.
You know what's funny? I thought you were talking about this room.
Us too. We're busy.
Yeah.
I mean, this room just Hill's
No.
Hill's output alone.
Yeah, we put a
But I mean, that's how much stuff is out there.
Yeah.
That's how many things there are to consume.
John and I have the better part of 100 hours of content up on the web, right now.
Right.
And that's just us, just doing what we do.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan has 1,000 hours.
Oh, he's got thousands of
He's been doing
hours.
that for
Man.
years.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up on my 100th episode of mine, too.
Wow.
It's how you find that content. Because a lot of times when you talk about like website, I designed websites years ago, and somebody explained to me early on, it's like a website, you can make the greatest website in the world. You can be the best band in the world, or be providing whatever the best content is, and it's like creating the best store in the world out in the middle of a desert. How are you going to get people to it?
Right.
How are you going to let people know that it exists?
Yeah.
To even go to your website.
You pay Google to get you up on the top of the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sell the
Google's
that
making
space.
money. Google's a rock
Yeah,
star.
well, that's a new rock star.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Google's got
that's-
Lycra on. They're not afraid.
But I got into songwriting a few years ago, and I went into YouTube, and I was just searching on songwriters, and I ran across this like 20-minute documentary that was about two young Nashville songwriters, a guy named Steve Mokler, and I can't remember. It was a female singer or songwriter. I can't remember her name. And they were just talking about songwriting and the philosophy, and how they write and what their process is and that kind of thing. And Steve Mokler described an acoustic guitar and played a song. I'm like, this guy's writing. I really like his voice. So I went and bought a CD. And I listened to a CD. He'd have like somebody that played on the CD that I was like, oh, so Andrew Ripp. And I'm going to go check out Andrew Ripp. And now all of a sudden, I started discovering all these other singer-songwriter artists and stuff completely by accident.
Yeah.
But that's what we used to do with the albums, right?
Yeah.
And the radio. You hear that thing.
And so then now I'm like, well, there's stuff out there.
There is.
Just how are we going to find it?
Yeah.
That's the big question. When you talk
And
about
all this fucking glut.
You have to look, because there is a tremendous amount of BS, and when I look at the who's on top of the charts now, I'm just like, really, seriously?
But look, do we still? Because the rumor is like in the business that I'm in as a writer and producer, the rumor is that the script, no matter how, if it's a badass script, you could be nobody in fucking Utah. It will work its way through. Do you feel the same?
What is the difference though between are the scripts written the same today as they were?
No, I mean they change.
Okay.
They just styles, you know what I mean?
But
Format,
good
they gotta
is
move
still good,
faster,
though, right?
pace. I mean, it's like all those.
You're a
things.
film writer.
Yeah, I'm a writer and director.
Yeah,
And-
whatever. I mean, we're coming to the conclusion, I think, that, we got to do things to be noticed. Yeah, we have to do things to call attention because there's so much product out there. But good is still good.
But we still believe, like somebody was saying earlier, that your guy in the band said, we just got to keep playing and somebody will hear us and we'll get a record deal. And somebody else said, that doesn't work anymore. In my business, it still is that badass script.
Yeah.
If
Something's
you just
gonna happen.
put it on the internet somewhere, somebody's going to be like, man, did you read the script? I just came across the script. Did you see? And all of a sudden, it just starts doing and every time it happens. If it's a badass script, somebody be like, I just read the script. You got to go see, you know what I mean?
Cream always rises to the top.
Yeah.
And then you might have wrote it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It gets to everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know
agree
if
with
it's the
that.
same with music at all, because music changes so much.
Music changes, and also the live medium too. When you asked a few minutes ago, it's like, does anybody still go to concerts anymore? I will go see certain bands that I really like.
Sure.
It's not like it was back in the day when you'd be out at 3 or 4 shows a week or whatever. You go see bands every weekend. It's like people don't do that. People have, like I was saying, that our biggest competition now is Netflix and babysitters. And and then we have, I know with Cry Wolf, with the band, we broke up in '94, and then about 5-6 years ago, we ended up getting back together again and played and put out a new CD, and it was great. We're having a lot of fun with it, but there's a noticeable difference between trying to get people to shows now and trying to get people to shows then. Because there's a certain curiosity factor. People are like, oh, I'd love to see the band, see what you're doing. And they come see us play, And they're like, yeah, that was a great show. And it's like, well, we're playing in another 3 weeks on a Wednesday night. They're like,
well, we just told you.
ooh,
Wednesday?
Did
you say Wednesday?
Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have to watch the cat. I have to watch the cat thing.
We just saw you 3 weeks ago.
I know. So that's the thing. It's like, so trying to get people to continuously go out. Now, if you're making a film, you could watch the same film.
It's got a different set of legs
now, and that could get legs and keep going and keep going. That could be like, you could look at an album like that, I guess. Or if somebody's doing, I remember when YouTube came out, we thought, oh, there aren't going to be any albums anymore. It's just going to be a series of videos. And that's how people are going to be getting their content is by or learning about new music is by watching videos.
Yeah. Well, who watches videos anymore now? Nobody has time.
I actually had
MTV doesn't even play videos anymore.
I had a conversation with I have a neighbor, a beautiful neighbor with a beautiful daughter who's 12 years old. Her name's Colette. We were talking about MTV, and she said to me, "What's MTV?" I never heard of MTV.
At 12.
A 12-year-old has never heard of MTV.
We were rushing home.
And I said,
remember when Thriller came out? And you're like, I got to be home by 3:30.
I know. I said that to my wife, and I'm like, Colette's never heard of MTV. She was like, she just shook her head. She's like, and I said, well, it's a channel that would play videos. And she's like, videos. On TV. Like, yeah. She's like, oh, we have YouTube. I didn't have YouTube back then. You'd have to wait. She's like, how do you know you'd want to watch the video? It's like, we just sit there and watch all the videos.
We were a captive audience.
I know. And we just watch videos. Yeah. Hoping that the next video that you wanted to see came out. And she was like,
hoping. Yes.
That's
you know how many times I sat through fucking Men Without Hats?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But they did the same thing.
These dreams go on when I close. I played that video. MTV. It was like, I still know the words.
Brandon, where do you go when you want to hear a song?
YouTube or Pandora.
That's where you go?
Yeah.
And is it a song you're looking for, or is it a type of song?
If it's a type of song, then I go to Pandora. If it's a specific song, then I'll do YouTube.
Yeah. So, I don't mean to have the last word, but I promised Phil I'd only take an hour of his life. Taking an hour and 48, and we started late, and I still got to get my ass whooping from Hill because white music, and he was like, "Oh no," and I said, "Oh, okay, I'll take this in public and we'll record it." So I would love if you guys could stick around. I would love if you guys.
Marley was doing.
You know what? I would love if you guys would stick around because you could, I'll take my ass whipping from Hill and I'll take my ass whipping from the rest of you, but I was making a point and I'll stand behind that.
We gotta hear
but it is an hour and 49, and damn it, Phil. Yesterday, Phil was like, dude, I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I'm like, I don't know.
And in all honesty, whenever I drive down, we're like, what are you going to talk to him about? So we listen to some music and we're like, and we know we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we didn't know until we got it, but it was great.
Oh, thank you.
You're just having a conversation. That's what makes it interesting. Right?
I'm pretty good at talking and stuff.
Well, the thing is, you have a perspective that is, first of all, unique for us. Never mind us. It's unique for me because growing up as a musician, I got to see that you in Truant and the ride you took in Cry Wolf was just influential to all of us who were just a little younger than you.
Wow.
So that was great, and we could talk about that all day. But, we also are here in this show to solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
So I appreciate everybody's input on solving the world's problems, especially yours, Phil Deckard. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to
Thank you
say
so
one
much
thing,
for
too,
having
as we wrap this up. So, we've heard a lot of people, and, it is about choices and sacrifices. And, some people are grinding, and they don't need a kid or they don't need medical coverage, but other people have to do different choices. We had a guy named Jason McEnroth on the show who rocked as hard as anybody could ever rock, a drummer, and toured with Henry Rollins and just beat the fuck out of the drums, and it was top notch. But when Blue Man Group said, how about you just live in Vegas and play 7 gigs a week and make money,
Raise your sons.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm the hardest rocker there is, and I'll take that gig right now. Twice.
Some people want stability.
Derek's been basing.
Derek lives a great life, So there are ways to do it.
Or something, or one of the strict Soleil or something like that.
And it's excellent. He's fantastic, and he lives a great, solid, stable life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good work we can get it.
Absolutely.
And you can get it if you try.
Are we going to finish with a song?
I think we just did.